Welcome back to the Restricted Handling Daily Intel Brief. This is what's been going on in Iran and the Middle East in the past 24 hours. The lead story today is a correction to the public record around threats against President Donald Trump. U.S. officials say intelligence agencies could not verify several Israeli warnings that Iran planned attacks involving a sniper, a knife, or a shoulder-fired missile in Ankara. The CIA reportedly assessed some of the information with low confidence, and Turkish intelligence found no evidence supporting the Ankara claim. That does not prove the warnings were invented. Israel passed multiple tips, and U.S. agencies investigated them. Iran also has a documented history of threats against former U.S. officials. But the latest disclosure means the specific attribution was not established at the level public claims implied. The presidential security measures are a separate fact. On July 8th, Trump secretly switched aircraft while returning from Turkey, and senior officials remained aboard a decoy flight. Protective agencies work with asymmetric risk. Even a low-confidence warning can justify action when the potential consequence is catastrophic. That operational standard is different from the standard needed to accuse a state publicly. So the clean analytic line is this: the protective action happened, and Israeli reporting influenced the security posture. The alleged Iranian missile team remains uncorroborated. A stronger conclusion would require technical evidence, a Turkish investigative finding, or a new U.S. assessment that raises confidence. This distinction matters because threat intelligence can shape presidential movement, diplomacy, and military choices, even when attribution stays uncertain. At sea, Washington is projecting endurance. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says the naval blockade on Iran can continue indefinitely through force rotations. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says new economic measures are coming, with the goal of unprecedented isolation, though the details were not available when this brief was completed. Shipping through the Strait of Hormuz remains a fraction of the pre-war level. 9 ships passed on Thursday, up from 5 the day before and near a recent average of 12. Before the war, daily traffic was roughly 130 to 140. Iran and the United States both claim control, but the operational picture is constrained passage under military risk. Neither side has uncontested command of normal commercial movement. That difference between declared control and actual throughput is the heart of the standoff. Iran wants the strait to function as negotiating leverage and proof of sovereign authority. Washington wants to demonstrate that it can sustain pressure, rotate forces, and protect selected movement. Shipping companies, insurers, and crews make their own risk calculations, and those decisions can tighten the waterway even without a new military order. 2 attacks on ADNOC vessels bring that cost directly to the United Arab Emirates. The UAE says both company ships were attacked in the strait and that no one was injured. Iran has warned that vessels violating its rules can be stopped, but responsibility for each incident still needs forensic and official confirmation. The political effect could exceed the physical damage. Abu Dhabi has tried to maintain security ties with Washington and pragmatic relations with Tehran. Attacks on Emirati commercial assets narrow that room and can increase pressure for escorts or closer maritime coordination. They also add urgency to the Oman Channel that is trying to develop a temporary route through the strait. A technical corridor could improve movement, but it would not resolve the larger fight. Iran wants sanctions relief, an end to the blockade, and recognition of a new management system. Washington is preparing more economic pressure. The war termination questions remain open. Any shipping improvement without a political framework can be reversed quickly. Oil markets understand that. Prices rose after the indefinite blockade statement, reflecting low traffic, vessel attacks, and uncertainty about how long regional producers can reroute supplies or draw on inventories. Force rotations, mines, screening rules, and insurance premiums will matter more than dueling claims from Tehran and Washington. The market is pricing duration as much as immediate disruption. Lebanon has its own sequencing trap. Israel's defense minister says withdrawal from occupied positions will be tied to Hezbollah's disarmament. Washington says a permanent Israeli presence is inconsistent with the framework. Hezbollah argues that Israel must withdraw before it gives up weapons. Everyone can claim support for the agreement while placing the other side's obligation first. That is how a ceasefire can stall without formally collapsing. Monitoring can document positions and weapons transfers, but it cannot solve the political question of who moves first. Watch for a written withdrawal schedule, Lebanese army access to contested areas, and an agreed verification body. If Israeli positions become semi-permanent while Hezbollah offers only selective compliance, the arrangement will erode through normalization rather than one dramatic rupture. Yemen is moving toward a more immediate warning point. The United Nations envoy says the country faces its highest risk of major conflict since the 2022 truce. Fighting around Marib, Hadramaut, and Mocha is increasing pressure across multiple fronts. 73 UN personnel remain detained, and more than half the population faces acute food insecurity. Yemen's internal war now intersects with the Iran conflict, Red Sea shipping, and the regional competition involving Saudi Arabia and the UAE. A sustained new campaign could pull outside powers back toward direct involvement and widen attacks on maritime targets. Iran rejects U.S. allegations about its role, preserving the familiar gap between accusations of material support and Tehran's political framing. Iranian audiences are getting a different hierarchy of facts. State coverage presents Hormuz as an Iranian management system that Washington must accept. It links oil pollution near Keshm Island to foreign military activity and argues that shipping beneficiaries have legal and moral duties to repair environmental damage. The indefinite blockade is framed as evidence of U.S. frustration, not endurance. That coverage also treats demands on Hezbollah and accusations over Yemen as foreign interference. It gives less attention to depressed shipping, risk to Emirati commerce, detained UN workers, or the dispute over who must act first in Lebanon. The information strategy is designed to make pressure look survivable and control look settled, even as traffic remains drastically reduced. The common theme today is the danger of confusing action with proof. A security precaution does not prove who created a threat. A naval presence does not restore normal shipping. A ceasefire pledge does not settle sequencing. Watch for evidence that resolves those gaps. A higher confidence threat assessment, an attributable finding on the ADNOC attacks, a workable Hormuz transit mechanism, and written steps for Lebanon. Until then, the region is operating through precaution, leverage, and claims that run ahead of verified control. Thanks for listening. Go enjoy the rest of your day before the geopolitical situation gets worse again. For the full written brief, it's restrictedhandling.substack.com. We'll see you in the next one.